Hey guys, Morgan's Maintenance. Today's tool review is a product by TopTes. It's their pin type moisture meter TS-630. Now I'm going to mark this a paid promotion because they did send me this for free. They didn't ask me to make a video review or to tell me to say something specific about it. They sent it to me and said, just give us your feedback and your thoughts. And like I mentioned in every other video where where I've taken a product like this, I'm going to go ahead and make a video. I know that's why they asked me anyways, but if I'm going to share my feedback with them, might as well share it with you all. That way, if it's something that you could use, you'll get the information as well. Now, they were nice enough also. They're going to give me a discount code. I think it's 10% off, and I'll put that up here so that if you want to buy one, you can save a little bit of money. And they were also nice enough to send me two, so I'm going to do a giveaway, and I'll give more information about that at the end. So we'll talk about that as well. So moisture meter is probably not a tool that all of you just have in your toolbox. It's probably not something that maybe even you think that you might need, but there's several good uses for it. Me in particularly, I'm only going to use it probably in a couple areas. One would be in framing, even though it's not required in my area. Like whenever they come and do my framing inspection, they don't come with a moisture meter and check it. But I have noticed in watching YouTube videos like Scott Brown Carpentry, they basically check and see what that content is before he covers it up. And so it's always a good thing to do, even if they don't require it. It's a good thing for you to do and to document, because in construction and things like that, the better documentation you have if you've checked certain stuff, the better it is for you in the long run if an issue comes up. And that's primarily for me in concrete floors. If you pour a new slab, you could go by that adage of, waiting 28 days for it to cure enough, for the moisture content to be low enough. If I'm going to go in and put a floor in that's adhesive, like I have to put down adhesive and then an LVT or engineered hardwood, something like that, I need that moisture content to be a certain percentage for that adhesive to adhere. Well, it's always better if you check it and don't just go by that date, so that you can document that the moisture said it was at this percentage. And then that way, if some issue arises, you've at least checked it and you know that it's what it needs to be. And plus, you just want your work to perform better anyways. Another instance would be insurance jobs. I'm actually doing one right now where a plumbing leak happened and then all the drywall had to be cut out. The framing was soaked because it had leaked for a while. Well, you want that percentage of moisture to be down enough before you just go in there and just start hanging new drywall and covering that back up. So that's a place where I would use this as well. But again, just in carpentry, woodworking, moisture basically affects wood to where it swells when it's wet, it shrinks when it's dry. That's like if you have a deck and you put all your new deck boards out there, and you put them tight, you go back out there the next season, you got a gap that's this big between all of them because it has dried out some. Well, it's the same way if I'm going to build a piece of furniture with some wood. I want it to be as dry as possible so that all the changes have already taken place. So when I put my joints together, I'm not going to basically let it dry out farther so that there's this big change and my joints all open up. And then I don't use it for this, but I think it's a good use, and it's one that they mention quite often on their in their paperwork and things like that, would be firewood. I go and I cut firewood out of my woods occasionally, but it's mostly just for a burn pit. And I just go and cut up some down trees, whatever's down inside my woods. I don't go and cut it and just have a big pile going because I don't heat my house with it. But if you're a person who heats your house and you've cut this season's wood, and then you had some over here, and you've got some older and some newer, well, you can take a moisture meter like this and go out and check your wood and see which one's the driest, which ones are going to burn the best. And just that way you've got an idea of where they're sitting at. And you don't have to sit there and keep up with, well, I cut this one at this point in time and I cut this one. It's just a whole lot easier to just take something like this out there and stick it in and check it. So that's basically the kind of uses that you'll get for it. But let's go ahead and I'll show you what you get in the box. I'll show you the functions of it, and then we'll do some testing and see how it works out. So when opening the box, what you get is a manual, which is actually very important. I'll get to that in a little bit. You get the moisture meter itself, which we'll get into as well. You get 3 AAA batteries, which are actually Duracells. I'm pretty impressed by that. They give you a little pouch to keep it in as far as for a protective cover. If you want to use that as well, it's got their name on it. And then they also give you a wrench and 2 extra pins as a replacement, which is pretty nice that they give you that as well, because you know, sometimes if you just have something happen to your pin and it gets damaged, it's nice that they already go ahead and give you some replacement parts. That's not something that a lot of people give you, but this is the one that I'm going to give away. So again, we'll get into that at the end, but I'm going to get that all put back in. I've already had mine out, been using it to try it out for a little while, just to give it some testing and see how it works. But as far as the functions that you have on it, again, to use it, you just take this off. It's a protective sleeve to cover up your pins there. You have this on and off button, powers up the unit. It's got a LCD screen. It's bright, and it's got these background colors, which is a big advantage. And I'll show you, it basically has 3 colors. I think that that's the real nice thing. It gives you actual numbers, but it gives you a green, and then an orange, and then a red for dryness to wetness. I think that's really nice that it does that. So you have the power on. You got this max and min, where if you press that, anytime you're checking something, it basically gives you the minimum and the maximum value every single time, so that you, if that way, if you're just holding it somewhere, you don't have to try to, you know, see what was that lowest number. It will actually tell you the lowest and the highest number. You can change, it gives you the temperature, the ambient temperature. You can go between Celsius and Fahrenheit. You can see that it's nice and not real warm in my building right now. And then you have a hold button, which is nice if, again, you need to take a picture for documentation. You can get that moisture content, press the hold button, and it holds that measurement. And then you have this material measurement, which is kind of the thing of why I told you the manual is important, because it basically will cover, I think it's 7 different materials types. And I'll put a list of those up here. And you basically scroll through from A, B, and so on until you get down through to G, and then it starts back over. You do have to go through. So if like I'm on A and I want to go to B, and then I need to go back to A, you've got to go all the way back through to get to A. And I do kind of wish that it just actually said something instead of having these numbers, so you don't have to continue referencing a chart. But again, I think most of you, if you use this, you're going to typically use it for 1 or 2 things, and you're going to remember what A, B, C through G, what letters you're going to use. You're not going to have to always remember those. But in the manual, basically, it has all those wood types. So you can see here that A is beech, spruce, birch, cherry, walnut. B is oak, pine, maple, and all those things. So you might say, well, what if I've got a different wood that I'm using that's not in that list? They have a calibration tables of wood back here in the back, and I mean, they've got all sorts of different types of woods, and it basically, right beside of it, it gives you the or the letter that you need to have it set on for that. So again, that's why I said this is kind of important to keep just as a reference guide, not so much on how to use it. It's very easy to use, but you might want to hold on to this so that if you run into some different woods, you'll know how to check it as far as which one you need to put it on. And for the most part, if you're checking wood on A or B, it's not going to be drastically different. It just depends on if you need it to be really, if you want to tune it down as far as you can. If it's that important, for the most part, 1 or 2%, it's not going to make that big a difference for things you're going to check. So let me show you how to use it. So here I have some pressure treated. It's a material B, so I'm going to set that on B as far as the wood. You just stick it in. You want to go with the grain, and you can see I'm at 10.3% moisture content. I'm still in the green, and again, that just matters as far as you need to see if you've got a code or something like that in your construction in your area. You need to see what that content is. This is just basically giving you that green means that it should be good. And again, but that just depends on what that requirement is in your area, but that means it's pretty dry as far as the content of it. So that's pressure treated with that, versus if you go into just having some regular framing material. It's a little bit drier. I'm at 8.7%. So you have that as well. I can get into some select pine boards. So this is one that maybe you would go and buy to make something out of that's a little bit nicer. It's a little bit cleaner piece of pine. So you put this in here, and sometimes it's so low that you don't even get a reading, but it's 8.2. So again, it's in the green as well. You can check oak with it. Oak is also in the B. Most of the stuff that you're going to use, as far as for me, it's always been B. And I was having a hard time every now and then getting this one to read. So sometimes you've got to play around with it and see if you can get a reading on it. And see, I'm not going to get one here. All this stuff has been in my garage for, I mean, a pretty long time. So I had a hard time with the oak getting that to pick up, no matter how I checked it. So that's one thing. But every now and then I did get a number on it. But it may just be that it's so dry that it can't pick it up, because I think that the percentage only starts at 8 point or 6.8% on B. So maybe this is actually less than 6.8. Every now and then I did get and the time I did get a number, it was barely above that 6.8. So that's probably why that's not picking up. So again, if you're not getting a number, it doesn't mean that it's not working. It means that this is actually really dried out. Again, this has been in my garage for an extreme long time. I tried to find some stuff that was wet, and I didn't really have anything. So I went ahead and soaked a piece of wood in some water itself. So this would be like, say you had a leak at your house and you're wanting your framing to dry out and you need to check it and to see if it's dry enough yet. You can see here that I'm at 28% moisture content. I've only had this wood soaking for maybe 30 minutes or so. So this is something where if I had a leak in my house, you can see the water dripping off of it where I just pulled it out of the water. I'd want to keep coming back and checking this until it got down to where that percentage was low enough, have dehumidifiers running, things like that. So just to give you an idea, and that's the way that screen changes. You can see it went through from green to yellow to red, or green to orange to red. It's more orange. Looks yellow on the camera as I'm looking at it, but you can see that color change and that content change. So again, fairly nice. You can get into Firewood. So if you're going So you can get into Firewood. If, like I said, I just cut this. It was laying down, but I could tell it was a newer tree that fell down. I went out there and cut some up just to test it. You could even just stick it out here on the outside, and you can see it's at 31.3. But if you even wanted to check it on the inside, it's a little bit drier as you get inside. So I'm at 20.1 because this outer layer of bark, it's been raining outside, all sorts of things like that. So you can just see the difference. Gives you an example of the color change. I think that is really nice, just because I always like stuff like that. It's like, I like to see the numbers, but I also like to see, the color change, and that just gives you a better idea, because you might not know what you want that number to be. They've kind of got it calibrated in there, what's low, what's medium, what's high, so that, a number might not mean anything to you, but how to. I basically want green wood. I want it to be green. I want that content to be low, so I could go out to my Firewood, check that stack, see if I could find some that was in the green versus in the yellow versus in the red, and then I know that that's going to burn a lot easier, those kinds of things like that. So yeah, guys, that's the TopTes Pen Type Moisture Meter, the TS-630. I think for the price of $19.99, again, you'll get 10% off if you order in the next little bit. I think it's a good tool to have, just in case you need to check moisture. And some of you might need to use it more often than other people, but it's a good thing to have at your house, in your shop, put it in your truck, so that if something comes up, and again, for me, it's just good for documentation. Even if it's not necessary for me to check stuff, it's just a good thing for you to be able to check it yourself, take a picture, put it in your files of that job, so that you know that you did what you could. But again, I think it's a useful tool. Let me know in the comments below if you use a moisture meter, what you use it for, how it helps you. If you got some other one you use, let me know if you got this one in particular, what you've thought about it as you've used it. I really like that color changing screen, and the fact that it kind of tells you where you're at moisture wise, in case you don't know those numbers off the top of your head. But again, they did give me one of these to give away. I am going to give it away to basically, I'm going to pick a comment. I'm going to do the same thing I did on the PB Swiss. We'll do the comment generator, but I guess since this is a tool that maybe not everyone would use, or maybe you're going to comment below that you've already got one of these and you like it or you don't like it, whatever it might be, so that we get this in the hands of somebody who might use it and actually needs one. Why don't you, if you're interested in getting the product, if you're interested in the giveaway, before your comment, just type "I'm in." That way I know that it's somebody that could use this and doesn't have one already, doesn't have some other one that they use, and they'd like to have this one, just type "I'm in" along with your comment. And then that way, whenever I do that comment picker, I'll just keep picking until I find one that says "I'm in," because sometimes some people just want to watch the video and they don't really need one or whatever it might be. I'd rather this go to somebody that can use it than I mail it to somebody and it just sits on a shelf somewhere for a extended period of time. But that's the TopTes TS-630. Let me know what you think about it. I hope it was useful. I hope it helps you make the right decision. But hope all is well. Stay safe. Have a blessed day. And I'll see you on the next video.